So John Oliver did a special segment on men and women's sports. And the funny thing is, he was very, very wrong. He basically said there's no advantages. It's all nonsense. And this guy is absolutely nuts. Look, John Oliver lies. I'm going to debunk exactly what he's saying right off the bat in the first 30 seconds. Riley Gaines. If his argument was sound, we would see women competing in men's sports, but we don't. This is the hill the left is willing to die on. Remarkable. So here's the video. Clay Travis says, John Oliver spent his entire show last night arguing that men who claim to be women don't have a competitive advantage in sports. I honestly can't believe this is the hill left-wingers are dying on. Now, again, I will stress, Riley Gaines makes the point, but let's hear what he has to say first.
Is explaining what we do and don't know at this point.
It is undoubtedly true that trans women will maintain advantages in some sports.
So that individual right there speaking is a biological man identifying as a woman.
Probably not so much in endurance sports, but in size and strength sports. Trans women will also have some physiological disadvantages. Our larger frames are now being powered by reduced muscle mass and reduced aerobic capacity, and that can lead to disadvantages in terms like quickness, recovery, endurance, things that maybe aren't quite as obvious as being bigger and stronger.
Right, bigger and stronger bodies are not automatically advantaged in every scenario. I mean, put The Rock in a pure bar class and see what happens. I mean, we know what would happen. He'd take a video of himself, caption it, "Mad respect to these mamas, everyone go see Moana 2, and try to use it to sell his tequila before eating 13,000 pancakes and drinking a cow. We know what would happen. But the degree of difference here matters because we expect a certain amount of difference in athletics. Taller basketball players are expected to compete against shorter ones, faster soccer players compete against slower ones. Michael Phelps was allowed to compete with other swimmers despite being part dolphin. And crucially, none of the studies I've mentioned so far bear much relevance to what these new laws target, which is youth sports, usually of all ages. And the research there is even more scant. We have no research about how being trans or undergoing gender-affirming treatment impacts athletic performance in teens. And when it comes to...
Okay, I'll just pause right there. Wow, John, that's a great argument. Maybe we shouldn't combine men and women's sports then, or boys and girls sports, if you don't have the data on the impact. But we do know that boys have an advantage over girls. We're done then, aren't we? Apparently not for this guy.
Kids before the onset of puberty, I could talk about the studies showing the subtle performance differences between boys and girls, but I'd argue when you're talking about 7-year-olds, as a practical matter, that's a point where lots of school sports are co-ed anyway, and a key difference between competitors on a field can come down to whether a kid was born in October or April. And at this point, you might be saying, well,
he's wrong.
I don't need to wait for scientific research. This is all common sense, and I know what I've seen online. But a lot of what you've seen may not be quite what you think it is, both when it comes to trans athletes' impact on competition or safety.
So I'm a skateboarder, and I can debunk everything he said very, very easily as a skateboarder. And skateboarding, I think, should be the sport you use. Now, to be fair, you could use rollerblading or scooting, but action sports in general. Now, J.K. Rowling says, read the effing room, giving him, there we go, giving him a smackdown, as of course this is her issue. She says, I understand why men like Oliver, who've consistently mocked anti-science people on the right, sold out initially. They didn't want to blow up their careers. Taking fashionable anti-women's rights positions was the cost of doing business. But it's time to read the effing room. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. The first 1080 spin in skateboarding was done by a, I think, 12-year-old boy. How come no 12-year-old girl did anything? In 1999, I think it was 99, when, let me just double check. When did Tony Hawk land the 900? I believe it was the summer of 1999. Yep, June 27th, 1999. So, for those that don't know, you're on a skateboard. You go up the ramp and you turn around one time, 180 degrees. You spin twice, 360 degrees. Thrice, 540. 2 full rotations, or 4 half spins, is a 720. He did 2.5 full rotations. It was never done before. It was 1999. Ladies and gentlemen, the first 900 done by a female just happened within the past year. Some 25 years later. A little boy did the first ever 1080 spin. on a mega ramp, so it's much bigger, getting an additional full, it was a full 3 rotations, done by a little boy. The thing about skateboarding that I often maintained when I was younger, and I would say I'm largely incorrect about, is that skateboarding is not necessarily a skill sport, okay? In swimming, it is who can swim the fastest versus who can swim the fastest. In skateboarding, sometimes it's who can jump off the biggest building. Now, there's going to be some advantages there, right? Maybe if a woman is smaller, maybe she can jump off a bigger building. But then she's got the Q angle with the hips. When I was younger, it was patently obvious to everybody skating when we were teenagers that girls couldn't jump as high for whatever reason. Well, we know that reason today, as I got older and we look into it, is the fast twitch muscle. Women have less muscle mass, less bone density, less skin collagen, and less fast twitch muscle. Slow twitch is for the big push, and fast twitch is for the bang. They have less, meaning guys have more powerful and explosive kicks and jumps. However, despite that fact, I said, yes, men do have the advantage, but what's stopping a girl from hucking herself down a 20-stair handrail? That is, imagine 20 stairs in this big set and a railing. We call them handrails. And imagine you go as fast as you can, you jump, you land on it, and you slide down, right? Let me see if I can find a video of, 20 stair. How about this? Backside tail slide El Toro. Me, I'm a skateboarder. I know all this stuff. Adrian Ballard. And let's pull this up and turn the volume down. And I'm going to jump straight to the trick. I don't care to waste your time with whatever. Here you go. You can see it right here. Oh, this is Hollywood High. Oh, it's his full part. What trick did he just get? Here you go. Backside tail slide shove it. That's what he just performed. That trick you just saw, I think we can slow this one down. Let's go to playback speed, super slow, and play that in super slow motion. Let's get that volume gone. So, backside means his back is facing the obstacle, right? So it's his backside. He jumps, and then he turns the board 90 degrees and places the tail onto the rail and slides. Hence, backside tail slide. He goes all the way down, and then when he pushes the board completes the final 90-degree spin. We call that a shove it. And he lands. Okay. A tail slide is a very basic trick any female can do, and so is a shove it. We have never seen a female skater do a back tail shove it down a rail like this. In fact, this video part, Adrian Ballard, back tail El Toro, new life part, it was considered a very big deal that he did 2 very basic and easy tricks. They're like medium level. If you're a little kid, you should be able to do a back tail. It's a basic trick. Basic meaning it becomes advanced when you spin the board or flip the board before going into it. They're showing you a man, one of the best in the sport, doing this trick. Women don't do it. So when I was younger, I said a woman could go fast, jump, easily get on the rail, and do a back tail down the handrail. In fact, a friend of mine that I grew up skating with, skated with for a little bit when I was younger, for a few years, good friends. She was one of the best in Chicago, and she could hit these big handrails. So the thing about skateboarding you didn't understand. There's several different ways to skate. There's the balls skateboarder. Here's the El Toro rail. Let's play this one. This was a big deal in skateboarding when this happened. It's a massive railing. Look at this. And he does the backside tail. That's crazy. Backside tail slide down a 20-stair rail. That's tremendous. So there's a couple different ways you can skate. This is why I say skateboarding basically debunks everything he's saying. He's like, it's 7 years old. There's no difference. It's co-ed anyway. Then why is it that 7-year-old boys are better at skateboarding than 7-year-old girls? Fact. There's a video of a little boy doing like a 720 shove it on a wall. It's just crazy. Little kids, little boys, they have more exposure to fetal testosterone. They have more fast twitch even at a young age, even before puberty. He is lying. It is patently obvious to anybody who works in this sport. In skateboarding, you can be brave or you can be skilled. Maybe you can be both. Brave skateboarders. There are some people, they don't have the coordination. They're not very good. They can't run in a straight line if you paid them $1 million. But they decide, you know what? I don't care if I break every bone in my body. I will jump down this rail and I will be great. There are many skateboarders that are like, I'm going to practice my skills, fine tune everything I can do so that I have the best flick, the best jump, the best pop, the best grinds. I will be the best at every element of skateboarding. And then there's some guy who goes, no matter how hard I try, I cannot do it. I can't do it. You know what I can do? I can just go full speed and slam myself into a wall. Half kidding. So when I show you that big railing, it is the choice of any skateboarder to say, I'm going to go as fast as I can. I'm going to jump, land on that rail, and eat it or make it. Again, that doesn't require strength or skill. It requires force of will. It requires internal strength, not physical strength. The question I then had was, how come women don't do this? And that's when I was younger. Very few women. I'm like, you don't have to be able to kickflip very high. You don't need to be able to compete with all the guys to make a decision to jump down the biggest railing you've ever seen. Women don't do it because men and women are different. So when he says it doesn't matter if you're a little boy, you don't have these advantages, you don't have these differences, he is lying. Everyone in skateboarding knows. You will watch a video and you'll see someone that looks kind of female. They'll instantly pop the board. You go, that's a guy. Ask any skateboarder. And I gotta be honest, don't ask any skateboarder because half of them will lie to you. There are individuals in skateboarding who are trans and they have decent followings, and I'm not trying to rag on them. They're allowed to do whatever they want, but everybody knows they're guys. Because the moment they pop their board and do a trick, everyone goes, no way that was a chick. Because of the center of gravity of women, because of their jump power, because of their Q angle, which is the hip ratio, you can easily determine usually when a woman does a trick versus a man does a trick. So there's very few exceptions. But I'll just say this, homie be lying. I'll wrap it up there. Stay tuned. More segments to come. Stick around and we'll see you all in a little bit.